Now, Avastin is also being heralded as potentially the biggest cancer drug ever. It is an anti-angiogenic drug. It uses a novel approach in that it starves the cancer cells of the blood supply they need to thrive. It was first used in colon cancer, now being used also in lung cancer, and many other indications are in fact evolving. So, what a cause Sue has taken up. And when Sue left private practice, she was determined to help many, many patients. To know that you're helping cancer patients around the world, or giving them more hope than there had ever been before, I don't know, how fulfilling is that? With Sue Hellman's leadership at Genentech, Genentech has and is transforming cancer care. We are fortunate that she chose this career and that she stayed the tough course to get these drugs developed and to patients. For all these reasons, it's why Sue has been selected as a 2009 Edison Award Innovator. And with that, Sue, it's a privilege and honor to present you with this award.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Sue, for that great introduction. My friends know that I am someone who loves to give advice, so I'll start with some advice. If you're ever asked to receive an award, call up Sue Siegel and ask her if she'll introduce you. That was really fun and lovely, and not too embarrassing. You were right. You didn't do that. Thank you so much, Sarah, to you and to the Edison Awards selection group for selecting me for this award. It's a real honor to receive this. For a very, very long time, I've been a fan of Thomas Edison. I remember when I was at UCSF being around so many people who were experts in molecular biology and research, and I had this notion that you had to be like Leonardo da Vinci and somehow come up with something no one had ever thought of, and I never saw myself as such a person, but that, 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration, I was sure I could do that. That I could do. I think it's particularly fun to think of Thomas Edison as the wizard of Menlo Park, and maybe we need some wizards of Silicon Valley or wizards in South San Francisco, so I'd certainly like to consider myself a wizard wannabe, if nothing else. I really wanted to congratulate David Kelly and Bob Kelly for such a fun introduction. That was great. Being one of 7, I'm not only glad that Sue Siegel introduced me because she's such a warm and wonderful person, but if the 6 Desmond siblings got up here, it'd be, bar the doors. That wasn't bad considering you're a brother. So that was great. But what an honor to be recognized together with David, who runs such a fantastic organization. I want to talk a little bit about Genentech because, like David, my name might be there, but I'm here to represent 11,600 fantastic colleagues at Genentech, and I'm really proud of what the company has done for patients. So let me just tell you a little bit about Genentech because I think what Genentech has done, it really epitomizes the spirit of innovation that we're here to celebrate today. So in the early 1970s, Herb Boyer, who was a professor at UCSF, together with Stanley Cohen from Stanford, pioneered a new science revolution called recombinant DNA technology. It really meant that you could teach a cell to do something different than the cell started doing. And Herb got a call from a visionary venture capitalist named Bob Swanson, who had the wild idea that this new technology could have commercial potential. Now, Herb was very happy in his lab, and truth be told, he didn't want to be bothered with this VC guy. But Bob was very persistent, and eventually Herb reluctantly agreed to spare him 10 minutes. That planned 10-minute meeting went on for 3 hours. I think there was beer involved, as the story goes. Somewhere along the line, they each put up $500 of their own money, and that was the beginning of Genentech and the biotech industry. It turned out that Bob's hunch was on the money, and Herb's technology certainly did have commercial applications. Genentech became the first company to make a recombinant protein, which was human insulin, the first company to produce a biologic drug to treat cancer, the first to develop a targeted therapy to treat cancer, and on and on. As of last week, Genentech was, by market cap, the largest biotechnology company in the world and the #1 provider of cancer medicines in the United States. Most importantly, Genentech medicines have improved or extended the lives of millions of patients. And Bob Swanson passed away from brain cancer about 10 years ago, and just yesterday, the FDA made a unanimous recommendation by their advisory committee to approve Avastin for the treatment of brain cancer, something that many of us who knew Bob consider a great, great day. So with that track record, to say Genentech was and is an innovator would be an understatement. How did that happen? What was the secret sauce? I think it was the ability that Herb and Bob and Art had, and one they share with Thomas Edison and all the great innovators, and that is the ability to dream big dreams and then go after them with all the determination and the ambition you can muster. So as Sue showed you, embarrassingly, I like the blue glasses. Luckily, they didn't show up that well in the picture. I've known I wanted to be a doctor since I was a little girl. Although my sister Teresa points out in that picture that I was pointing out, look, I wanted to be a doctor. And she points out, look, you were bossing people around. That's the real me. My dad is one of the great people on earth. It's not just that he was a pharmacist, but if you wanted to talk about something that you were worried about, you'd go to my dad. You'd go to the side door of the pharmacy for the real consultation. And so all the discussion about what you could do if you could use science and medicine and analytics to help people was what I grew up with. So I would hang around the drugstore and watch my dad in action, and I thought that was a great thing to do. So I wanted to go to medical school, and luckily I did like science and math and had the grades to get to medical school. So I was fortunate and was able to achieve a dream. I would have been very happy to have been a family doctor, a community physician. I enjoyed practicing medical oncology very, very much. But that's not the way it turned out, because something took me from that to wanting more, to wanting to dream big dreams, and the kind of dreams that you need to make innovation flourish. To ask the question, why not? Why can't we do that? And so I thought I'd just point out 3 things that matter to me in terms of thinking about innovation that have helped me make that leap from wanting to make something happen to participating in making something happen. First, don't be worried about taking a risk. I think the best things that ever happen are those that you know if it goes well, it'll matter a lot, and if it doesn't go well, you're going to look kind of stupid or be a goat. And I would point out that when Sue showed that slide and showed Avastin, that now people talk about could potentially be not just the biggest cancer drug in the world, but the biggest drug in the world. When we first started working on Avastin, the first clinical trial we did was in very late-stage breast cancer. And it would have been a very quick path to the marketplace and to commercialization for this first ever anti-angiogenic. And the trial failed. It was a good try, but the patients were, we think, too sick to benefit from Avastin. It was too late to help them. And when the trial failed, the stock dropped, people despaired, and I was spending a lot of the company's precious R&D money on the next trials of Avastin. And we really had to take stock. Were we chasing something that would never come true? And the risk of putting all the company's money at risk for now what is at least 10 additional cancers is today paying off, and we look very clever. But at the time was enormous risk that we would be wrong and had gone too boldly before we knew that this would be an important way to help cancer patients. So taking risk is essential. The second thing that I would say, and I think this has been true for me and I suspect for many of you, don't underestimate yourself. When I first came to Genentech, having had the eclectic career that you just heard about, I humbly went to my first interview with Dennis Henner, who's a PhD scientist who at that time headed research. And I went into Dennis's office and I said, listen, Dennis, I want to lay all my cards on the table. I have to tell you, I'm not a molecular biologist. I've never been in the lab. That's not what I do.